Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another Sunday night live where we're going to be talking boats. All right, I got to get in the right mindset here. Get my hat on. I'm in the Carolinas, and I just went outside and found my youngest daughter on top of my truck, scraping ice off, having fun. And yet she was doing it with a putty knife, a metal putty knife on the top of the roof of my F-150. So I think we got her stopped there, and let's get started. So first of all, I want to thank David Eddy for becoming our newest member of the channel, supporting the channel as a gold member, and he's got the first question of the day. He watched the best and worst video, or the best and worst bow rider video, which has been a popular one, and then he watched the worst bow riders, where I talk about different brands, and one of the brands he's interested in is the Caravelle. And let's see here. There it is, the worst bow riders, and Caravelle was at the top of the list in that top 5, and he is looking at a 2015 22 EBI. So here's my take, David, is it's a value boat. It is. You look at the press releases, even with the previous owner, they're selling to the value conscious. Let me go bigger screen here. They're selling to the value conscious, which is totally fine. If you are comfortable with the value product, just understand that you're getting something that may not be as durable. It certainly doesn't have the same level of fiberglass. On the Caravelle, they're not as deep. They don't have the same freeboard as you would find on a similar boat. On a 22 footer, you would likely find another couple of inches, 3-4 inches, maybe even a freeboard and depth. You're going to find thicker fiberglass on other brands compared to the Caravelle. Now, you'll also find a Mercruiser. So you'll also find the same exact power plant. The best and worst videos are popular for me, so I do them. And I think it's important for people to know. But my lighting is going crazy here today. But here's the thing. Is especially on a pre-owned boat, is this boat 6 years old now? It's going on 6 seasons. For the most part, if things were built cheaply, you should be able to find them. So if I shouldn't say that. If things are built cheaply and they're causing a major problem, you should be able to find them, David. So if you're tapping on the hull, you should be able to find if there's water getting in. If you check that under the rub rail, where the rub rail, that's the word I was looking for, I just said it, the rub rail where the top and the bottom meet on the construction, so that shoebox construction where that rub rail goes, just rub your fingers up and down there and make sure that it's a good tight fit everywhere. Check the electrical. David, answer me this: is it something that is is it saltwater? Are you freshwater use? Where are you using? And just tell me a little bit more about where you're going to be using it and how you're going to be using it as well. Um, and it's here's I know one of the reasons why it's attractive probably is because it's cheaper than other 22-foot boats and newer than other 22-foot boats. So on the positive side, you have I can get a newer boat that's a little bit bigger, a little bit less expensive, and it has the same Mercruiser power plant that a 22-foot Sea Ray, Cobalt, even Larson is going to have a Mercruiser in it. So the engine is virtually the same. Okay. Now the wiring and the way they put it in, the way they mount it to the stringer system is different. and that could be problematic over time. But the power itself is the same. The controls are the same. So it comes down to, are you comfortable with upholstery that may rip at the seams a little bit sooner, is a little bit thinner, isn't going to have as heavy and durable of a ride as you would find on a Chaparral or a Cobalt, or something that's probably going to be 5, 10, even $15,000 more for the same size boat. Okay. So for you have to think about, am I going to be happy with this? Blue water for now, casual. When you say blue water, tell me exactly what you mean by that. Are you planning on just hanging out in the, calm bays? Are you going to be going out in some rough chop? Are you going to the sandbar? And where is that? Give me a little bit more. It's salt. I get that for sure. I, Tell me what the power is. Is this an outboard, or I don't know them well enough to just know if the model you said is an IO 22 EBI. Tell me if it's a stern drive or an outboard. EBI Caravelle. EBO. Okay, so if it's a stern drive, I'm not a huge fan of it for you. Okay, so just bays, Mercruiser. Okay. All right. So sandbars, Mercruiser, IO. All right. So despite regardless, that's the word I was looking for, regardless of the brand, I'm going to encourage you to stay away from an IO in saltwater. Unless you have something that's closed cooled. It takes, well, let me say this. If you haven't watched my video on, let's see if I can find it. Saltwater versus freshwater. If you watch this video here, David, I go into a lot of the details. There's extra maintenance that's going to be required of flushing that engine consistently and flushing it for 15, 20 minutes, making sure it comes up to temp and getting all that salt out of the system. Okay. So I am not a fan of stern drives in saltwater, even if you're going to be a trailer boater. Yeah, because of flushing. You got it exactly right. Now, if you can find a Caravelle with an outboard, I'm going to talk about value brands for a second. So whether it's a Tahoe, a Bayliner, a Caravelle, the Larson, the Glastron, whatever, the Rennell, whatever it is, all those that were on my list. All of them are perfectly fine boats. All of them are perfectly safe boats. What they're not is as comfortable, as durable, as and when I say comfortable, I mean in rough chop. They're not going to be as smooth. They're going to ride a lot rougher because they're not as heavy. They're the hull of the boat, the shape of the hull is designed for different purposes than for a smooth, comfortable ride. They some of the things that they do that you can't see, that is where they save their cost savings are going to give you a less smooth, less comfortable, less solid ride. I like to, David, I like to think of it like you are driving, if you've ever ridden in a Kia and then you get in a Ford and then you get in a Mercedes or a BMW. Think about that. They're all perfectly fine cars. They're safe. They're going to get you from A to B. They're going to be functional and practical. What you get are the creature comforts, the ride comfort, some of the safety features that you may not get on the Kia, but it's a perfectly great car. My in-laws on that side of the family, there's 10 Kias. They've all got the Kia Sorento, the SUV. And I drive my father-in-law's Kia. and it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly safe. It's nice, but it's just you can just tell it's not as heavy. It's not as durable as when I jump into my F-150. It's not the same as if you jump into a a G wagon or something like that. They're just, but it's perfectly adequate and safe. So I when I do the best and worst videos, it's somewhat clickbaity and but I don't ever want people to say, "Oh, that's unsafe." But you will have more issues than if you bought a higher value boat. So what I would encourage you to do, David, is one is I would really lean towards the outboard. Okay, you had a razor, a lot better than that. Just trying to get out of it. Well, there again, the Boat and RV Super Center sells the razors. They sell the caravels. They sell the Makos now, which are not the Makos of old. They're the new Makos. They sell Lexington pontoons, and they are focused on first time boaters that are and they're trying to get a low price so they can make a sale. This is my opinion of them, and from the research I've done on the reviews, and they are not focused on quality. So when it comes to that brand, perfectly safe, perfectly adequate, but you're going to have little ticky tacky things that are coming up all the time, whether it's the wiring connections are corroding, especially in salt water. You have a rip in the upholstery, the screw pulls out of the gel coat. So that's that. Now, if you want to talk about what might be right, yeah, Brock, the new Makos, it's like they may not even they shouldn't even be related. We talked about this last week when we talked about brands that and I use Chris Craft as an example, but there's so many brands that when the ups and downs of the boating industry, as you can imagine, every 10 years or so, it kind of cycles. Things are great, new brands come on the market, things go down, the market crashes, a couple brands go out of business, they file bankruptcy, they close their plants, but there's a great brand name, Evinrude. Oh, it's a great brand. We're going to buy that. Chris Craft, great brand. We're going to buy that. Larson, Glastron, Mako. It happens over and over and over. And you've got two assets. You've got the brand and you've got the molds. The molds is what they build the boats. The brand is just a marketing thing. So you can buy the molds and the brand together, or you can buy the molds and the brand separate. The molds are worth 100 grand each or so. So you can sell the molds off. Somebody says, okay, I'm going to take the old molds and I'm going to build my boats from that. So I don't have to do the R&D. I don't have to do the CAD design. I don't have to do any of that. It was more valuable previously in the designing aspect. Now it's just a matter of putting the mold together and getting it built. But so just the brand doesn't mean much at times. So that's an interesting thing. So, all right, David, if you have any other questions as we're talking through, definitely hop in and I'll get back to you for sure. And then I would check out if you have not already. I would check out. You can check out the First Time Boat Buyer's Guide on that, but I would check out Bowrider. I would check out this best and worst Bowrider video. I go through and I talk about how they're actually built, and that might be valuable for you as well. All right, here's one that caught me off guard. Hey, Hux, how you doing? Hey, we've got snow coming down right now. It's and it's come down this way. So got my plate for the trailer, commercial plate, boats 3,000, recreation is normal. I don't know in Minnesota what the deal is, but it seems odd. I don't know why you would get a commercial plate. I don't know if that means more fees, more taxes, something. But for us here in the Carolinas and anywhere I've dealt with it, it's been a trailer plate. So I've never had to deal with that, but I would definitely look into it. My gut tells me is that it might be more expensive in the long haul. So, um, okay. Brock, how you doing? All right, perfect. All right, good. Glad, David, glad you watched those. Just keep going through those videos. Keep joining us here on these lives, asking your questions, and I appreciate the kind words and the support. Um, Knowledgeable, honest, and unbiased. So I'm gonna today is and because of today, anybody that asks a question, anybody that comments, I'm going to throw everybody in that's on this live, and I'm gonna draw somebody on next week's live. You don't have to be on it, but I'm going to draw somebody to win either the first time boat buyer academy or the best boat captain training or pontoon captain, whichever one you want. But today I just found out is, if you can see, the 2-year anniversary of the channel. So this channel was started January 16th, 2019. And I got a notice from YouTube, 2019. And in that time, um, 3.7 million views, and we just hit 25,000 subscribers last night. I told my wife, I said, we're almost to 25,000 subscribers. It's just a number, but to me, I'm like, holy crap, that's pretty amazing. In 2 years that we've done it, and it just happened to be our 2-year anniversary today. A little side project that I started. Exactly what David said is I wanted to put some information out there that I thought wasn't available, and it wasn't available in an unbiased way. You know, Boat Test, Boating Magazine, Pontoon and Deck Boat Magazine, the industry publications, Discover Boating, they've all got fantastic content and they're great resources, and yet they're heavily influenced by brands, because brands are who pay the bills. Brands are who advertise in them. So they can't say anything negative about a brand, because if they do, they're going to lose their advertising revenue. Discover Boating is an industry outlet where all the engine manufacturers throw in money into the pot to promote boating as a whole. So they're not interested in giving specific advice. They're just interested in promoting the industry, which is awesome. And Boating Industry Magazine, all that is awesome. But I wanted to be somebody that could say, "Hey, stay away from this. This is going to be problematic." The Volvo XDP drive, that composite drive, the OMC drives, the stern drives in saltwater, some of the stuff that other people just weren't able or willing to say because of where their money was focused. And I appreciate everybody that supported the channel, everybody that's been involved with the channel, and everybody that has participated. I very much appreciate it, and so we'll do that. We'll do that drawing at the end. Rob, good to see you on. Finally, I guess, is there football tonight? There should be. Um, Comment Yamaha Jet Boat Construction. So Rob, I think Rob has a. I don't know what he has for sure. I know he's got a Yamaha. Yamaha Construction is mid tier, so they do a great job. They're focused in their segment with the jet boat on, for the most part, first time boaters, and they're very much mid level. So if you were look at them compared to other stern drive bow riders, you would find some that are built better. Cobalt, Chaparral, Formula, Sea Ray. You would find others that are built worse. Bayliner, Tahoe, Caravel, that are down on the other side, taking out the power plant, just the fiberglass open bow rider. Okay. Now, from what I've heard in the last, I talked to a Yamaha dealer last week, and he said their quality is in the toilet. Now, they're a saltwater dealer. They were down on the East Coast, and he said their quality has been bad lately. And so that's been in the last, I didn't get specific on when it was, but just without being prompted, we were talking about, and most of the other brands they carry are more premium level brands. Yamaha was probably one of the more price focused brands that they carry. So not what he's typically used to. And he said without prompting, he said Yamaha, the quality has been really down lately during the pandemic. So but as far as the other construction, I've done the All About Jet Boats video that, Rob, I know you've watched that one. You've been a frequent commenter and participant of the channel, which I appreciate. But if you have any specific questions, let me know. Be happy to I'd be happy to do that. I need a vanity place at Butch registered in South Carolina. Look at my dad's bud, Lake Norman. Um, yeah, it's the sales tax in, and this may upset some of you people, especially some of you in Canada. I got a message from somebody that was in Ottawa, I think, and he said their sales tax was like 13%. In Tennessee, I know the sales tax is about 7%. In North Carolina, the sales tax caps at $1,500. In South Carolina, the sales tax caps at $300. So, you look at buying a boat in Tennessee or buying a boat in Ottawa, Canada, compared to buying a boat in South Carolina, and that sales tax is much less. And the property tax, I believe, is as well. So, yeah, I didn't realize that they were that aggressive in maintaining that. The DNR maybe has a how you doing, Keith? Maybe has a directive to double check everybody to make sure that their license and their registration match up for folks. All right, let's see here. Hunter, want to look at a boat last month, watched your video. Believe I nailed everything. That's awesome. What not to do? Oh no. I thought you were just going to say you did a great job. Hunter, tell me if you've got a specific question or anything. I hope that I wish you would have found the videos beforehand. And hopefully it all works out. Hopefully it all works out for you. Chris, saw your top 5. Thought Chris Craft seemed like a reach, but not a top 5. Here's the thing with Chris Craft, and thank you very much. I definitely appreciate it. Here's the thing with Chris Craft is Chris Craft as a brand is one that we just talked about. It's been up, it's been down, it's been back up, it's been back down. And right now it's so specialized. Chris Craft as a brand has been bought, sold, in bankruptcy, out of business. The brand bought and the mold sold separately. And so there was a time started out in the wooden boat era as, best in class. Was doing great in the 90s or so. They were building some pretty ugly and some pretty bad boats. I want to say late 80s, early 90s. I have to do research to get exact. Now they're owned by a private equity company. No, I take that back. They were owned by a private equity company. They just recently sold in the last 2 years. But they have gone with a very premium niche segment. So yes, they're bow riders. Yes, they're center consoles, but they're the throwback in looks to the older Chris Crafts. But what's interesting is I've talked to Chris Craft dealers, and the quality and reliability of the Chris Crafts are not exactly what you pay for. So you would expect it to be incredibly reliable. The reality is that a lot of people that buy those boats, it's kind of, it's like, let's get another toy. And I don't know if it's the quality of construction or if it's the lack of regular use. It's, hey, let's get the Chris Craft for our second lake home or our vacation home, and we'll run it 3 or 4 times a year. And this is directly from a Chris Craft dealer that sold a bunch of them in a saltwater environment. So I don't believe even today that the Chris Crafts are even close to that top 10. mark because of that. Although they're beautiful, they're absolutely gorgeous boats. But because they make them, we use the word fancy here. I don't know if that's the right word or not, but because they go towards that segment, the they're focused more on aesthetics than on durability and reliability, if that makes sense. So if you look at them, they're gorgeous. But when you start digging in, and I don't have any specifics, this is just based on conversations with a selling dealer that would have no reason to make something up because they carried them 3 or 4 years ago when I had this conversation, and they still carry them today. But they're gorgeous and they look like nothing else on the marketplace. And so if that's the market they're going after. Let's see here. Keith, thinking of buying a fishing family boat, 24 center console. Would there be a better option? So, Keith, we talked about this last week. Tell me how big your family is, and tell me where you're going to be doing your boating. And when I say where, like the area, and are you offshore fishing? Are you near shore fishing? Are you sandbarring it? Are you out in rough chop? Are you mainly going to be close in? What does that look like for you? And I can give you a little bit better answer. While you're putting that in, I'll come back to Brock. Brock has been he's been on the podcast. He's provided valuable information to the subscribers and to the people on these lives for probably 2 months at least, sometimes giving better advice than I give and more accurate advice on certain topics. And so he just recently bought a 247 Masters, or 247 Open, 247 Masters, I think. And he has a family of 5. He has 2 younger kids, and a early teens, um, his family of 5. And Brock, chime in because I know you're here. He said that was that 5 is about good. When they start adding friends on, it can start to get a little bit tight. So think about how big your family is, and Brock is in Charleston, so he is, they've got a nice the Charleston Harbor there. They've got some offshore fishing, and they've got some nice sandbars there. They've got some rivers that he can run on. But so he has a mixed bag of everything, and it's just something to consider. Is how big is your family? So like, how old are they? How tall are they? For me, we're a family of 4, but I'm 6'2". My wife is 5'10", 5'11". My 7-year-old daughter is 5 feet already, or my 8-year-old. She just turned 8 last week. We just measure them every birthday, and she's 5 feet. My 10-year-old daughter is just over 5 feet. So we are a family of 4, but we need space. We need space to stretch out. And that comes into play too. If if everybody in your family is, 5'5", 5'7", 5'9", 5'10", that's a little different than if you're 6'3", 6'5", and you're taller, bigger people, whatever. As far as family fishing and family boating at the coast, the 24 center console is probably a good match, depending on some of those specifics that I just asked about. So, all right, I don't see any responses coming in from Keith. I don't know if he got cut off. And by the way, I've got a snowstorm and ice storm going on right now. For some reason, the internet gone out. That is what it is. It's technical difficulties, and I'll try to get back on if I can. So, okay, so here's Brock's response. Thank you, Brock. 5 to 7 is pretty comfortable. We took our friends out, 4 adults, 14, 7, 6, 4, and it was a little tight. Okay, so that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people, 8 and a baby, and it was tight. It was cold out, couldn't get out and go swim. So they were all on the boat the whole time. So just keep that in mind. Who was that? Keep that in mind, Keith, that it kind of also depends on, will you be bringing friends that are you social people that are going to meet folks on the water, meet folks at the sandbar, meet folks at the restaurant? Are you social people where you're going to bring them out on the water with you consistently? If you do it 3 or 4 times a year, I wouldn't change the boat I buy. But if you're like, that's just the type of people we are, we like to invite guests, consider that. If you're like me, for me, boating time is family time. My girls can invite friends. We may invite another family out every now and again. But for me, boating is a lot about my family of four getting out of the water and spending time with just us making memories. And so that's my 80%. That's what I talk about in the First Time Boat Buyer Academy. That's my 80%. Kind of figure out what your 80% is. And all right, so family of six, 14 through 21, South Shore, New Jersey, Back Bay, some out front. Okay, so you know, man, a family of six, that it's going to be doable. Mostly adults. I mean, even the 14-year-old on the young side is starting to get there. So 6 adults is doable, but when you start adding even a couple of extra friends, a little bit extra gear, that 24 can get small pretty quickly. What I would encourage you to do if you have the opportunity is to go ahead and go to a boat show if you have one in the area. I don't know what the boat shows are doing up in New Jersey, but they should be kicking off somewhere, or go to a dealership and just put your family of six on the boat in the showroom at the boat show. Everybody sit where they would sit and just kind of feel, how does it feel? Okay. You're the captain. You've got somebody up in the bow, you've got some folks in the back. And then you stop and you're going to go sit somewhere. You're probably not going to stay sitting at the helm post or the leaning post or the seats up there. Where are you going to go? And just sort of feel it out. And how does it feel for you? That's a great way to kind of get a sense and know that boats tend to feel smaller when you actually get in the water. When you're in the water, they don't seem as big as they do on the boat show floor or on the showroom. So, um, windshield fluid in the squirt bottle works better than metal for yes, Hux, I was not happy. She had told me earlier that she was scraping ice off my truck, and I was like, "Okay, it's probably fine." Um, and but then I went out there right before I jumped in my live to tell them, "Hey, when mom tells you to go to bed, they don't have school tomorrow because of the weather. When mom tells you to go to bed, go to bed. I'm gonna be on my live. I don't wanna have to deal with it. I don't wanna hear any yelling." And I'm like, what's in your hand?" And she holds up that putty knife with the metal putty knife, scraping ice, sitting on the cab of my, like standing in the bed, scraping on the cab of my truck. I was like, "Oh my god." So, yes, thank you. I'll let her know that. Thank you. I appreciate the advice. Sharing value here. Thanks, Hux. Yeah, so you're a big family, 6'4", 240. My kids take after you in size. So keep that in mind. Because I'm the same thing. I'm 6'2", 220, and I'm the little guy in my family. My dad, my brother are both bigger than me. And it matters. It makes a difference when you're in the boat. So, okay, yeah, and Brock, like I said, Brock just bought this and is in a similar situation as far as numbers. He's one less than you. Wouldn't go any less than that. 24, 26 coffin box would be even nicer. 3, 4 adults, two in your back seat. You still have your two helm seats, yeah, and some standing room because yeah, you'll also, think about you're cruising, yes, but then at some point you get to where you're going the sandbar and people are going to be getting out and moving around and moving from the front to the back. And at some point you'll jump off into the water or on the sandbar, whatever, likely. But just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. So, all right. Well, this is awesome. We jumped right in today. Um, this is very good. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that, and thank you, Brandon. I definitely appreciate it. As we said, anybody that comments, if you look right here, we just hit. Um, just hit 25,000 subscribers on our yesterday. So that happened yesterday. And we just had our 2-year anniversary. So this channel started January 16th. So today, 2019, as kind of a little side thing that I was doing. It was COVID times. I was home. My main business was slowed down significantly because of COVID, and I was like, okay, I want to try this out. And so here we are, 2 years later. We've got people on lives that we've been doing every week. People like Brock, people like Hux, people that have found the channel. Hopefully, not too late. Like or no, who was that? That was um, somebody had found the channel just too late, made a few of the mistakes, but hopefully people can find it early. Any anything that you all do, hitting the like button, making a comment on a video, sharing it on social media, investing in one of my programs, subscribing, becoming a member, like David. David became a member and is financially supporting the channel through YouTube, which is all of that is very much appreciated. And I'm hoping to make it to some boat shows this year and meet some of you in person, and just kind of the friendships that have started because mainly because of these lives and through the comment section. And all of that is pretty cool. So if you make a comment, if you ask a question, even if you just say hi, make a comment. I'll put all the names in a hat and I'll do a drawing for any of my programs. The First Time Boat Buyer Academy, if that's what you want, or if you own a boat, the best pontoon captain or the best boat captain on the water. I'll give one of those away for free as just kind of an anniversary milestone for 25,000 subscribers thing. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. Hey, I got your email. Congratulations to Jim Bryan, who just officially passed his six pack captain's license test. He still has to send in all the stuff now to get his ticket, but he's done the hardest part, which is passing that what is it, 4 hours? It's like a full day of testing. There's 3 different segments, I think 3, that you've got to pass: navigation, rules of the road, and there's one other one that's escaping me right now. But congratulations, Jim. That's awesome. And let's see, if you don't mind me asking, what was your main business? You have a huge amount of knowledge in the industry. So Brandon, I sold boats. I got into the industry in 2009. And I sold boats for a dealership here in the Carolinas. I sold for about 5 years. And I stopped because we had our second daughter. My wife had our second daughter. And if you're in the boat sale side of things, if you're in the retail side of things, that means working weekends. That means your summer is your busy time at work, and not as much time to be on the water, because that's from, in the Carolinas, our boat show was in February. From February to Labor Day, you're going 100 miles an hour. That even in the slow times back in '09, when we were just coming out of the recession of the mortgage meltdown. And so had a conversation with my wife, and she said she works full time as a professor at a university here. And she said, listen, I know you love what you do. I know you've been a boater your whole life. We started boating at 5. When I was 5, my parents bought their first boat, and we've always had a boat. We've got a lake house at the Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri. Now my in-laws have lake houses in Tennessee. And so boating has just always been something that's I've been around. But she said, I can't do it. I can't raise these 2 girls. And I know the type of dad you want to be. And um, I know that means that you're going to want to coach their basketball teams and their baseball teams and go to their dance recitals, and you're just not going to be able to do that if you continue on this path. So I made the decision to step away from a job I loved, a job I was doing very well at, and I used a lot of these same things that I teach here, which is, you know, I had a educational report. I did YouTube videos trying to help people on, you know, just different stuff, not to this level, not even close to this level. And I had an ulterior motive with everything I did, right? I was being trying to provide value, but I also was using it to try to drive traffic so I could sell you a boat and still be honest and integral, you know, have integrity and all that. But so I made the decision to get out of boating, and then I started doing some consulting with boat dealers and manufacturers. So still focusing on the retail side, teaching them, you know, how to do some video stuff and how to do a little bit of sales and marketing, talking to them about, you know, the as a dealer, the better job you do in delivering your products and taking care of your customers, the more success you're going to have, and some of that stuff as well. Because I'm a big believer in that, and it's why I talk about it on this channel all the time. The dealer is almost as important, if not more important, sometimes than the brand that you buy, because the brands are so similar in the categories, right? So premium brands, mid-tier brands, value brands, they're very similar in quality. There's two stern drive engines, there's four or five outboards in the US that, you know, and for the most part it's Yamaha or Mercury or Suzuki. There's three main ones. And so that's that's where I've come from and where I've been and how I ended up here. But yeah, that time learning as a salesperson, I got to go to the Sea Ray factory, to the Boston Whaler factory. I have been to um, boat shows. I've been to industry events, and you know, I've talked to service. I know service guys that give you the straight scoop on, you know, you get a new product delivered from a manufacturer. A new engine comes out from Mercruiser or from Volvo or whatever, Honda, doesn't matter, and you get their spiel, and then you go and you talk to the technicians that are actually working on it. You talk to the techs that are seeing the stuff every day. You talk to your service writer, you talk to the parts person who's been in the industry for 50 years, and you start getting the real thing. You start seeing what's coming through the service department. You seeing what kind of issues happen. You talk to boaters that are in the marina, and I worked at a marina, so I was fortunate. I could see the issues that they were having. I could see even the customers that I sold, I offered a full on water training. I would spend 4 hours with anybody that bought a boat from me. Anybody that was going to operate that boat, I would spend 4 hours with them to train them, because I felt that was going to be important for them enjoying the boat, being safe, being on the water where I was with my wife and my kids. Um, and that was key. So that's how I came up with the best boat captain training idea. I was like, shoot, people aren't doing this. Even other people in my dealership weren't doing it, and they needed that help. So I hope that gives you a an idea. But but that's kind of the story of where I came from and how we end up doing this, and where my knowledge base came from, because it, you know, it came from boaters, it came from personal experience, it came from, you know, the training and the experience I was able to have, but also the relationship with those technicians and the people that are way smarter with me on the mechanical stuff as well. So um I'm on the Grand Lake, not too far from Lake of the Ozarks. Um, Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate that. Yes, David. I think that was about the dealer being as important as the brand, or more important at times than the brand. I think that's when I saw that amen come in, and I'm 100% believe that is true, because it's funny. I've talked with when I was selling, I one of the stores that I worked with sold Harris pontoons. One of the stores that was in a my store sold Harris. Another store in our ownership group sold Bennington. So my biggest competitor when I was selling, Harris versus Bennington. That was, '09, 2010. Those were the 2 big players, especially in our area. And it was funny, there was a guy that worked both of the boat shows, and I would work both of the boat shows. And so you would be selling Harris and you'd be selling Bennington, and they did several things differently, but when it came down to it, they were done different. One uses bolt, one uses tech screws. One did the frame this way, the other did the chassis this way. But in the reality, if you were to get on both of those boats and run them, and then run them 10 years later, if you were well taken care of, they would be exactly the same. It would be virtually 0 difference because of the construction of the boat and the material. And, I was fortunate that I had the opportunity to do that, and also had the opportunity when I was selling. I would go down to the Atlanta Boat Show every year. I would go to the Columbia and the Greenville show and the Charlotte show and the Charleston show. When I grew up, I went to every boat show, the Lake of the Ozarks. They had an in-water show in the spring that we always went to. There was a show in Omaha where I grew up, that the boat sports and travel show that we went to every year when I was a kid. And so it's just been 40 years of learning and meeting and talking to a lot of smart people. So, all right. So we're coming up on 45 minutes here. We've got magic tilts. No, the magic tilts have been good. I've never had a bad experience with the magic tilt. We had, um, you know, yeah, I don't know why they would trash. I know there's a trailer manufacturer down there that I think some of the dealerships use. I've talked to the lady when I was down at the show last year. I talked with her about trailers. I forget what the name is, but no, I think it's fine. Um, it's you're not going to have an issue. You just make sure you rinse it down every time you dunk it in that salt water. Make sure you pay attention to tragic tilts. No, I can honestly tell you, I have never heard of an issue with Magic Tilt. Um, so I wouldn't be too concerned about it. I would just, and I know you are, Brock, based on the conversations that we've had, that you're going to rinse it, you're going to take care of it. You know how to look at keep the hubs greased and pay attention to all that stuff, tire pressure, rust. That's going to be the biggest thing. All right. So, um, what else do we have today? Any other? Let me go through and make sure I haven't missed any questions. If I have missed your question, go ahead and type it in again. I'm going to go through and make sure. See if I missed anything. And again, drop your question in. I've got the Vortex hub like I'm a Ranger. Yeah, it's um I'm not sure the specifically on the Vortex, but yeah, as long as you've got something that you can easily get your grease in and make sure that there's no water getting in, and just be aware of them. I think the biggest issue is that people don't know that they have to pay any attention to them. And if you've ever seen that meme go around with the glowing hot hub that it says something about oh, what's the red light mean on my trailer tires? But I think the biggest thing is just not paying any attention to it. How different is the twin jet? How different is a twin jet to standard outboard on a Lund or larger pontoon for docking? Months counting to be on the water. Yeah, like I said earlier, Hux, I'm getting a little taste of your a teeny tiny taste of your weather down here. My girls were sledding down the street, and things shut down here with a half an inch of snow and a thread of ice because we don't have any equipment. But how different is a twin jet to a standard outboard on a Lund? Um, so with your Yamaha Hux, you've got a docking mode, and it's going to be very similar. So you can use the throttle almost as a single. You can use the throttle as a single, and it's going to handle very, very similar to your Lund because you don't have I'll call it a keel of your lower unit being deep in the water. So like if here's the water, an outboard is going to go down about that low. On your jets, all you have is that little rudder that's going to come down. So you can get blown by the wind a little bit more because you don't have as much in the water that's going to keep your back end less stable or more stable. It's not going to drift as much. It's like putting a sock in the water, a wind sock, so that you're not drifting as much. And then as you get comfortable with you can split your throttles, and you can get really good at when I put let's see, haven't run a twin for a little while, but when you put your port engine in reverse, it's gonna suck you this way. And so you can use your sticks to control as well. So if you're in a tight spot, let's say you're in a tight spot at a gas dock waiting for your turn, you can go one in just a single one in reverse, and it's gonna pull you back and around. Put the other one in forward, and it's gonna rotate you. So if you just go out into a nice quiet cove where you're not going to get much wind, you're not going to get much waves, and just go through those controls in that docking mode. And what that docking mode is, it kind of sticks your bucket down. So you still have the thrust, but you don't have the directional push. So you're going to get the thrust to steer, but you're not going to build up as much speed. Um, Take it out by yourself once for a afternoon on a Tuesday when the lake is clear, you've got plenty of area, you got a nice calm day, and you'll have it mastered within an hour. I don't think you'll have much of an issue getting comfortable with it. If you're good at handling the lunge or the any other boat essentially, you'll get really comfortable really quick with those twins. Um, and just figuring out forward here, reverse here, forward there, or just reverse on one. You feel how it pulls it around or pushes it forward because you've got your steering from both sides of center line. I'm glad you focus on safety. That's something that gets overlooked. Canada, see lots of strange things on the water. Water bikes, UWCs, boat license is a must. I'm really, there's a lot of people in the industry that talk about safety. I don't know if the industry itself would support a boat license because it would make buying a boat a harder decision to do because now I have to make the decision to buy the boat, but I've got to take the boater safety class, which is good. And I encourage everybody to do it. But the license, when that topic has come up in the industry, I've heard people behind the scenes saying, that's going to kill boat sales. So I don't know if the industry itself is pushing for it. I'm certain they're not. But what I would like to see is, yes, everybody taking a boater safety course, taking some, the best boat captain on the water type training, hiring a local captain. If you saw, I thought this was interesting. Um, on the channel, I just did a poll. It's got 290 votes. How did you learn to drive your boat? 44%. Somebody taught me. Dad, mom, grandpa, uncle. 43%. I learned by trial and error. It's what most people, It's one or the other. 2% a local they were able to hire a local captain on their dealer. That what I used to do as a dealer, I would train my people because I thought it was that important. 4% will or have invested in my training program, and 7% could still use a little bit of help. The trial and error people, I guarantee you that hiring a captain, even if they've been running their boat for 3 or 4 years, I guarantee if they hired a captain or if they invested in a program like mine, I think mine is fantastic. There is no doubt in my mind that they would learn a lot. They would learn things that would make their boating easier, safer, more fun, more relaxing. It just being around boats and have teaching as many new boaters as I've seen virtually everything that like no, if you just do this, you'll be much better off and learn from people that are better, more experienced boaters than myself. And I would love to see something like that as a requirement, or at least more people do. But I was really interested when I saw these numbers come through. Um, I thought it was very, very interesting. So thanks for that comment, Calvin. Think you're purchasing a boat, new to boating. Any suggestions? Well, Gary, you're in the right place. My first suggestion is go watch this video. First time boat buyer guide. If you go to the playlist for first time boat buyers, I don't know where that playlist is. If you just search first time boat buyers on my playlist, start there. When you kind of get a sense for what type of boat you're looking at, then go watch those videos. If you're thinking cruiser, go watch the how to buy a cruiser video. Pontoon, there's a ton of pontoon videos. Center console, watch the best and worst center consoles, the twin, single engine. Watch, if you're a bow rider, watch all those. Watch all the boat buying mistakes videos. If you're buying an older boat, watch that video. But I think somebody counted them out or found it for me. It was like 273 videos on the channel, and go through that. If you want some more direct, specific help, the First Time Boat Buyer Academy, I walk you through the 7 savvy steps that every boat buyer goes through, starting with how to decide what type of boat is right for you. Is boating right for you? Does it make sense for you to buy, rent, or join a boat club? Then we get into inspecting boats, new, used, test driving boats, doing the demo, new, used, negotiating, make sure you get the absolute best price, paperwork, making sure that there's no detail missed. And that's a great program if you want. It's very concise. You can spend hours watching YouTube videos and get a lot of the same information. But in the First Time Boat Buyer Academy, because of the format, I'm able to be very, very concise. Say, all right, you're looking at a pontoon. This is what you need to know specifically about pontoons. And I actually get on a pontoon and I walk it through with you. Bow riders, deck boats, center consoles, that kind of stuff. So that's another great program. Boat shows are a great resource for a new boater. You can learn about the local boating community. You can learn about the local boating styles. If you talk to 5 different salespeople at the show, you're going to get 5 different perspectives. You're going to be able to ask the questions, and you're going to learn a lot at a boat show. We're talking to dealers, talking to other boaters in your area. I always suggest, and I suggested in the First Time Boat Buyer Academy, is go to your local marinas, walk the docks, and talk to people. You'll learn a ton if you start zeroing in on a certain style of boat, a pontoon, a cruiser, a center console, whatever. You walk the docks and you start talking to some center console owners. You will run into somebody like Brock that's very knowledgeable, very helpful. If you're looking at jet boats, you'll run into somebody like Hux or like Rob Ortiz, and you'll learn a bunch from them. And if you're a little nervous, take a 12 pack of Bud Light with you, or a dozen donuts, and you'll make friends very, very quickly because boaters are friendly. As you can tell with this community on this channel, most boaters are very willing to help and share their knowledge and their experience with you. They love talking boats for the most part, and that would be another piece of advice. um, yeah, it's this is one of the videos that I've created recently that I'm gonna probably redo here, and I've got a new thing coming out. This boating rules in 11 minutes. What every boater needs to know. That's only got 20,000 views. I'm hoping that one does even better. I'm gonna redo it, try to make it even a little bit shorter, a little bit more concise, and it's one of those things where for new boaters, there's so many new things to learn that there's a reason why when you go to the boat ramp, it can be a disaster. When you're at a restaurant, you see people trying to dock that they struggle. It's because they say, "I'm going to learn by trial and error." Everybody laughs at the wavy boats, the boat zone, the boat fails, the qualified captain. Everybody laughs at those videos, and a lot of them that are laughing would do that same exact thing if they were in a similar situation. So I'm hoping that this video here, the boating rules, and I'm hoping that the best boat captain training um is going to be helping that situation. And I'm also going to be releasing a free I'm calling it a boater boot camp. I'm waiting for it to warm up just a little bit. We got snow on the ground right now, but hopefully in the next couple weeks I can get out on the water and record the three modules that are, hey, what do you need to know safety wise? What do you need to know about emergencies, how to handle emergencies, kind of the baseline of stuff that you need to know. And so I'm hoping that does really well and get some of that information out for folks. But yeah, there's some people that you're like, you know, just ask for help. Everybody, I remember the very there's two things that happened to me. Now, granted, I was young. Very first time I drove the boat, not with sitting on my dad's lap, I was probably 12, and I was driving home. I was driving across the lake from our friend's cabin at the Ozarks, back over to the resort we were staying, which was across the main channel. And I drove because almost every first time boater on a lake especially hugs the shore. And I did that. I hugged the shore and I drove right through the swim area of a resort. Now, nobody was in the water, so I didn't hurt anybody. But that in my mind, every time I taught new boaters, that was in the back of my mind is that they don't have any idea. The first time I drove, I pulled the boat back home. I was probably 16, and I drove the boat back home and I was going to back it in our driveway. We kept the boat in our driveway. It was at that time, it was a 18-foot Thompson bow rider. And I'd seen my dad do it 100 times. And I was like, I'm smarter than my dad, who used to drive semi, worked, grew up on a farm and back tractors and trailers all the time. And I ran over my neighbor's mailbox. So I'm sitting here teaching this like I'm some kind of expert. And I know a lot, but I've made all the stupid mistakes as well. And so, if they would take the time to learn and to take this program, Best Boat Captain on the Water, how to trailer like a pro, hire a local captain, ask somebody on the dock for some help. I think they would be a lot less of those, and it would be a lot more enjoyable at the boat ramps, especially when the water tested an IO boat. Sat before we headed back to the dealership following the mechanic guy. When we water tested this IO boat, okay, hang on. When we water tested this IO boat on Saturday before we headed back to the dealership following the mechanic guy. Uh, did I miss something here? I think I might have. All right, I missed that one, David. I'm not sure if I missed a comment or it didn't come through, but, um yeah, the qualified captain and I say this as well, you all that boat on the coast, saltwater, tides, currents, it's way, way easier than us lake boaters. Us lake boaters got it easy. All we gotta do is worry about wind, maybe if you're on a river, you got some current, but, there's no tides, the markers are much easier. The, navigation is typically more simple, and I talk about that in my video, saltwater versus freshwater. Before we left, he opened the drain on the motor, took the drain plug, drained the water out, and drained for 10 minutes, followed uphill. Yeah, no, that's no good. Um, the, Yeah, I mean, 10 minutes if you're going uphill, if it's just the water from the block, that seems like a lot of water still, like, maybe water was getting in somewhere, or there was just water in the boat to start with. Maybe it got left with the cover off, which, by the way, um, I had a conversation with a lady from Chicago the other day. And this is just it's a common thing. If you all leave your boat for service with the dealership, with the dealership, with a mechanic, anybody that's not that you can't see the boat, always make sure that you cover it yourself before you leave and ask them specifically to cover it. She had taken her brand new pontoon into the dealership for winterization and she left they pulled the cover and they left the cover off in Chicago for 3 months, and she was very concerned about the damage that that caused. So I don't know how to fit that into a video for YouTube, but just some advice because it's very, very frustrating. Long trailers are easy, short trailers are tough. Yes. Um, the longer the trailer, the easier it is to back because it takes longer to swing and you got more time to correct it. The short trailers, especially the jet ski trailers, sometimes you can't even see them in the mirror. You can't see them in the mirror, so you don't know exactly where they're at. They start going. By the time you see it, it's already gotten a little bit out of control, and they're shifty. So it's much more difficult. I agree 100%. Yeah, David, if you drain the block of the engine, that's just gonna go down into the bilge, and pretty much everything in the boat is gonna flow down through the drains into the bilge compartment and will come out where the drain plug goes, come out that hole. So that's nothing to worry about. The concern is where did that water come from originally? Did that water come from running the boat? Did it have a cracked block where the water was coming in and it was filling in the bilge compartment? Was the water in there because the cover got left off and it rained in and it just flowed down to the bilge? I'm not worried about that. I am worried if there was a cracked block and that's how the water got in. You can find that out easy enough. You lift the hatch. That's why I always encourage when you're running a boat, I always encourage to when you start it the very first time, open that engine compartment and start it with the engine compartment open if it's a stern drive or inboard. That way you can tell, hey, is it leaking? Is something sound wrong? Is there oil dripping somewhere? Does it smell off? It's something I do. If I haven't run a boat recently, I almost always will lift the hatch before I start it. When I was selling boats, I never started a boat without lifting the hatch right away. Because you just never knew if it was a trade, if it was somebody else's boat, if it was a brand new boat off a truck, who knows what you're going to find, and that's a good habit to get in. You would find that there. If it was sitting in the showroom, okay, then where did it come from? That's because that sounds like a lot of water. If it was just the block, yeah, holding the at the bottom of the steering wheel. If I want it to go left, I go left. If I want it to go right, I go right. That's a great one. Yeah, that's the other thing, David, is when you got there, where was it the day previous? Who knows? It's I am amazed when I go to a dealership and I see a boat that is just it's dirty. It's got water standing in it. It's in the showroom or it's outside that some dealers don't do a good job of taking care of their inventory and making sure that it's good, it's presentable. It's something that I'm blown away. You got millions of dollars of inventory sitting in your shop, and you're treating it like like you've never had a boat before. Like I know it's hard to you gotta as a salesperson, when I was selling boats, I had to for the most part recover my own boat. So if I uncovered this pontoon to show it and then I uncovered that pontoon to show it, by the end of a Saturday, I may have uncovered 10, 12 boats. Well, guess who had to cover up 10, 12 boats when it was done? And, for some dealers, they say, whatever, just get it tomorrow. But I'm like, I'm going to probably try to sell this boat tomorrow. I want it to look as good as I can. So I always tried to recover it. And, but you never know the things that happen in a dealership, in a service yard. So, all right. So we are 9:43. We are over we hour and 15 minutes here, hour and 10 minutes. We're going to wrap it up. If there's any last questions, I think I've rambled on enough on this one. I will put I'll go through and I will go through and put everybody's name in a hat. And next Saturday for the live, we're not to Super Bowl Sunday yet, I don't think. Um, Hang on, let me check. All right, February 13th. So I'll probably the week of February 13th, I will probably move that live to someday during the week. I've got basketball practice Wednesday and Thursday, so it won't be then. But I may do it on a Monday or a Tuesday, and depending on what my schedule looks like, and I will put that out there. So you should see it if you're subscribed to the channel. You should see it pop up. I may even send an email out if you happen to be on my email list. I'll send that out just so you know. And because my commitment like 3 months ago was to do a live every week for a year and just see how it went and see what kind of audience we could build up, see if I enjoyed it, if it was valuable for people. And thanks, Scott. I appreciate that. So I'm enjoying it, and you guys seem to be getting value. People like Brock and like Hux keep showing up and adding value as well. And so we'll notify you of that, and I'll schedule it for that weekend as well. But we'll do the drawing next Saturday. Buy from dealer. There it should be. Yeah, there's a difference between it should be their responsibility and do they take it as their responsibility. It's one of those things that dealers and salespeople are around boats so much that sometimes they do really stupid things because they just man, I can't keep these boats clean all the time. I can't keep these boats covered all the time. Just too much work. I don't have the ability to do it. And those are the dealers that you typically, if you see that when you walk in, all right, one red flag. Not don't buy from them, but that's one red flag that, man, these boats are dirty and disgusting. How well are they going to take care of me? Now I'm going to be always on the eye out for a red flag. And that's how I'm going to choose the boat I buy and all that. So, all right. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Hey, you can call me Matt. It's fine. Thank you guys very much. We'll see you next week and we'll do the drawing then. Take care, everybody.